Welcome to the Strangers on the Way podcast. I am so excited to have someone very special as we start off this new year. But first of all, we just want to say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy 2024. We're so excited to hear to see what this year brings. So Happy New Year officially, January 1. We're so pumped to have you. And today on the Strangers on the Way podcast, we have none other than my very own brother, Mike Hansen. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Well, hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. 2023 was a pretty killer year, and as Lauren mentioned, I know she's excited, and I'm super excited for 2024. As she mentioned, my name is Mike Hansen. I am Lauren's probably most familiar stranger that she's met on the way, and potentially maybe the strangest stranger she's met on the way as well. But I'm super excited to be here and share some stuff with y'all.
Yes, I'm so pumped to have my brother on the podcast as we start off a fresh new year. Michael, as we start our new year, I know a lot of people start with New Year's resolutions, or some people call them New Year's rhythms. There seems to be this renewed sense of wanting to improve and wanting to make the next year better, looking forward with hope. And when I think of you, I just think of someone who is able to, more than anyone, come back from setbacks and achieve goals. You're very disciplined. You have a really positive mindset. And so just as we're starting off the new year, I thought it'd be so fun to bring you on to talk about how you do what you do. And so I guess my first question would be, as you look through coming back from setbacks and setting goals to the future, what goes through your mindset first when you're kind of hitting a rough patch and then trying to make an improvement from there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll preface it all by saying that I'm still learning, right? I think a lot of what I've learned along the way in my 34 years of life is just trial and error. You figure out what you don't like and the position you don't want to be in, and that really guides you towards where you do want to be. And so I don't know that that's the correct approach. I don't think there really is a correct approach, right? But I do think that in terms of how you determine what you want your goals to be, you have to have some sort of experience, whether positive or negative. And so for the question of how can you help me out with the question?
So you're hitting a rough patch or setback and you want to achieve a goal.
Sure,
how do you mentally walk through that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think first of all, in terms of rough patches, I've had plenty of them. I know that we all have, right? Some of my rough patches were the most influential pieces of my life in terms of where I am today. Not that they weren't difficult experiences, but they definitely, in the end result, pushed me to be where I am today, which I'm very happy with where I'm at today. But I do think that setbacks, I think there is a threshold for a setback. And when I say threshold, the setback can't be minor enough that it's not going to push you to want to do better, right? It has to be something that puts you in a position where you're uncomfortable, or where you're unhappy, or where you have anxiety or depression, or something that pushes you towards that place of uncomfort that makes you want to take that next step to do better, right? And so I think for all of us, we all have definitions of what those thresholds are, right? I'll give you an example, current state, right? So Vanessa, my beautiful girlfriend, and we've moved around the country a couple times over the last few years. I grew up in Chicago. I stayed there pretty much my whole life until I was 32. And then Vanessa and I moved to Colorado, and then we moved to Florida. And in the process of that, I lost my fitness regimen and I lost my healthy diet. And in exchange, I became unhappy, right? You put on some weight, you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't feel so good. And it just drove me to a point where I started to just be melancholy and not have that zeal for life that I think a lot of people who know me know that I have, right? And so for me, that was that first step of saying, all right, I know that I want to lose about 30 pounds of fat. I know that I live in Florida now, so my shirt is almost always off. I want to get to that point where I feel confident. And so that's how I make a goal, right? Find a place of uncomfort and desire where you want to be. And that's at least how I just establish what the goal needs to be.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You talked about needing to get to this threshold of like a place to actually like be like, oh, something needs to change.
Sure.
That's like very interesting, because I think sometimes we're like, there actually has to be a pain point then for us to see a need for change.
Yeah.
Have you seen that like anywhere else in your life? Like there's been like something's hit the threshold and then you're like, okay, something's got to change. Maybe even like I know a lot of people struggle even mentally, just like anxiety, depression. I don't know if that's like a part of your story, but like anything mindset wise, like that, like how do you change that, I guess?
Well, I mean, you and I have talked about my kind of recipes towards mindset and overall just like general happiness. And I think you have to set your mind at a place where everything isn't like horrible, right? So like, how do you do that? I mean, there's probably 1,000 different ways to skin that cat. But I start every morning with gratitude. Like no matter what it is, you can wake up and, I'm in my 30s now. So you wake up, your back hurts, you feel kind of old, whatever. You just, and rather than focusing on that and focusing on like, I don't feel well or whatever, you just get up and you say, I'm grateful that I get to go work out this morning. I'm grateful that the sun is shining. I'm grateful that my family is visiting. Like there's so many things that you can be grateful for. And I think focusing on that to start the day, like puts you in a place where you're equipped to keep that level of happiness throughout the day.
Yeah. So right off the bat, you wake up, you might not feel that great, but you're like immediately going into gratitude.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool.
I have actually a little gratitude journal that this one bought me, and it's really cool because it has 5 lines for each date, and so it's cool because I've done this for about maybe 10 years overall.
Oh, wow.
But this specific journal I started in 2021. So it's really cool right now because I see entries from last year and the year before. And some days it's literally just like, I'm grateful that I got out of bed today, because some days are harder than others, right? But it still puts you in that level, in that mind space, if you will, that like is the one that will help you kind of be grateful and enjoy what's next,
Yeah, it's really amazing because researchers have found even with our brains, when we are grateful, it opens up something in our brain that's like a relational receptor. And so we're more open to having like interactions with people even. When we're not in that state, we can kind of be closed and it's harder to connect. So
for sure.
Even on that, like it's been like really powerful. You talked about in your gratitude journal, you can see the years pass. Do you ever, I know a lot of people at the end of 2023 kind of reflect on the year. Do you do that in like kind of reflecting on either what you're grateful for or reflecting on the past as you look forward into things? Or
I think it's important in some way, shape, and form to recognize the progress that you've made as a human being. But my short answer is no. I am future focused, right? Like what's happened, you can't change things that have happened. You can leverage your experience to do better in the future, but you can't change what's happened, good or bad, right? Like you can look back at bad things and that probably is just going to make you sad, right? You can look back at the great things and that might bring you joy. But for me, I think setting a future goal and working to accomplish it like is way more valuable than looking back and saying, this is what I've already done. Because I think Mark Twain said it, stand still, fall behind, right? I think at any point you're comfortable with where you're at, you're going to stop growing. And so, Vanessa and I joke around all the time, because I've made some significant progress with my goals, and most of my goals now like are not really career focused. Like I'm kind of at a spot where I'm just like, I'm cool with where I'm at. Not necessarily looking to do much more. It's not so much I want to grind it out for money type deal anymore. It's more fitness and health and just feeling good. And so I've accomplished a lot of those goals, but I don't sit there and say, oh, I made it, because that's the second you'll fall off, right? Like you need to keep pushing towards the next goal. And so I think reflection is great for some people. For me, it's just always like, what's next? What am I going to do next? Keep moving forward. Yeah.
It's interesting because I know like with the Strengths Finders, like different personality tests, they do say some people are like strategic, future focused, and other people have different gifts. So I wonder if that's like a part of your wiring.
Yeah,
So that's really neat.
could be.
You talked about having goals with Vanessa. Do you guys make like, because sometimes people like say to achieve a goal, have accountability, like do it together. Anything you guys are working on together, goal wise? I know you guys have some neat systems too.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a good question. Well, so I, believe it or not, I'm a negative reinforcement person. I know that that's, I don't know that that's necessarily healthy or not, but I 100% get motivated when my back's against the wall and when I'm not doing what I should be doing. Like that motivates me. I'll use an example. You guys are visiting for the holidays. We made cookies. I ate a crap ton of those cookies. I felt kind of, sugar overdose and maybe took a step back for what my goals are. And that motivated me over the last couple of days to just go full send on everything, right? And so with Vanessa, I encourage her to give me like that negative reinforcement. Now she's an angel, so she doesn't necessarily subscribe to that all the time. She's more of a positive build-up person. And I know that about her. So I know that she has done an amazing job at like changing some of her habits to be more healthy. And so my approach with her is just to encourage her. But I think, I mean, without getting too deep into, relationship advice, if you will, I think it's meeting your partner where they want to be met in terms of what's going to motivate them. And so she knows I like the negative and she works really hard to be that, which is hard, and vice versa.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's even a gender thing, because I feel like men kind of are like that with each other. Like they kind of rag on each other, and I guess that could be motivating. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it isn't for me. I'm like, give me all the love and the hugs.
We know that about you.
Yes. Yeah. It's so good. Well, something else I love about you is the systems that you have in place, like structures that you've built to like really help facilitate some of your goals or achieve just different things in work or in life. Any advice about like, or even just light into how you structure some of your tasks or days, or like, I just think I've heard like goals fail because of poor systems, actually. And so it's not always about motivation or drive, but it's like literally having a system to like achieve the next step. I feel like that's something you do really well. Any either advice about how to like build a system that works for you, or anything like that?
Yeah, I could sit here for 3 hours and tell you about all of my systems, and I could like really get down into the nitty gritty of the details of them. But I think the most important thing when we're talking about goals, whatever your goal is that it has to be achievable, and you have to know what's achievable for you. And I'll use an example. There's been countless occasions in my 20s where I was like, I want to get in shape. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to lift 7 days a week. I'm going to do an hour of steady state cardio. I'm going to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. And I'm just going to flip from, eating bad food, smoking weed, sitting on the couch, just doing things that I shouldn't do, to that. Impossible. No one's going to do that sustainably. So I want to encourage you. It's July, or it's June.
January 1.
January 1st is today. Okay. If you've set a New Year's goal, I want you to take that New Year's goal and I want you to throw it out the window, because it is BS, if you ask me. I know you told me I can't swear, but I'm going to say BS, everyone. New Year's resolutions are BS. That's it. I'm just going to say it. The key to achieving a goal is to set small, subtle changes in habit. I'll give you an example. I, at one point, ate crappy food, fried food, sweets, all the stuff that is going to make you doughy and slow and tired and maybe depressed and anxious and all that stuff. Sitting on the couch for hours a day, not exercising, smoking weed, whatever, like just unhealthy habits. I said, okay, I need to do something that's going to work, because I'll try the chicken, rice, broccoli, exercise twice a day for 7 days a week, and you burn out after a couple of weeks. Most people who set their New Year's goal, they don't make it through January. It's because they're trying to boil the ocean. You can't do that, right? Set a small, subtle change. Give yourself 21 days to say, okay, I eat a bagel and cream cheese every morning for breakfast. I'm going to change that to non-fat, non-sugar yogurt and blueberries. Okay, that's one thing. I'm going to do it for 21 days. Once you do that for 21 days, I bet your ass that you will continue to do that, because it's baked into your habit and your daily routine. When you're ready after those 21 days, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that, just go at your own pace, change the next thing. Okay, I eat a Jersey Mike's sandwich for lunch every day. Let me change that to a chicken breast and an apple, right? It's just those small little changes that become habit. And so you get to the point where you're not even thinking about it. And so when I flip my habits, I've done it like I'm so used to eating clean and doing the things that I should, that it's just easy to get into that mentality.
Yeah.
And so it will be a situation where, because those are habits that you've created for yourself, you can give yourself a little bit of leeway. You can have that ice cream because you know that the next day you're going to go right back to what your newly healthy habits are. And you can use that example with anything. You can use it with work. You can use it in a relationship, just like whatever your goals are. Just don't try to boil the ocean. Think small and subtle. And just make those consistent changes over time, and it'll work like 100%.
Yeah. Well, I know for people that are like, or at least in my own life, when I've started a goal, like the beginning, like you get an excitement and enthusiasm the first few days, and then it's like day 4, 5, 6, you're like, oh, I really want the cookie or whatever. How do you not do that?
Yeah. Well, I think you got to recognize, are you a positive reinforcement or a negative reinforcement person? And you have to really at the end of the day, the overall outcome of the goal has to be put higher than the instant gratification of the cookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
And I got to be honest, I don't know exactly how you wire your brain to that. When I was single, like I really wanted to find my partner. And I do know that, as sad as it is in today's day and age, there's some superficial aspects to it, right? Like somebody wants a partner who's fit, who's happy, who's healthy, right? Like that's a general desire, I think, for most people. And so that, for me, that end goal of saying, I need to get myself to this place so I can earn the partner that I want, like that for me was enough to say, no, I'm not going to eat that cookie, or no, I'm not going to go take 10 shots of tequila right now. You know what I mean? I think for me, that was enough, but it's that threshold thing that we talked about earlier, right? The overall goal has to be valued higher than the instant gratification, which I know is like such a challenging thing. But you have to get your mind to that place where you want to reach that goal.
So you're able to endure the pain because the goal is that much more like a desire. That's good. That's good.
I want to just take a quick sidebar and note that the pain for my sister is not eating the cookie in this case. So so everybody knows it. If you ever want to alleviate her pain, bring her a cookie. So
I do love cookies.
Yeah, she does. Yep.
Dessert is the best. Well, as we wrap up, one of the things I love about you, we talked a lot about internal goals and like personal goals. One thing I love about you is your external goal. Like, I don't know if they're goals, but you're very generous. And so you also have this outward focus. Because I think we can get so like, I want to achieve all these things, and that's great. It's great to have dreams, to be motivated. But then also like, what are we doing to like love the world? And so any thoughts about just generosity or ways to impact people? I know you love interacting with strangers as well. Anything as we look externally into like, how are we going to be a blessing in 2024 to others?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I got to be honest, I think I kind of started doing like random acts of kindness, like strictly as like I hate this phrase, but like a fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's okay. Yeah.
But then I found that it actually brought me joy. Like when you're like rolling through Chick-fil-A or wherever you're at and you pay for the person behind you, and like it might have made their day. They might have had a bad day, and they were like, oh, that's nice. Or maybe that stringed line of generosity that goes back 10 or 12, 30 cars or whatever. Like, I don't know. That's kind of cool. But I do find that like having those positive human interactions too is also like a way that I can achieve that same level of like fulfillment as giving like generously. Like we've had some occasions where we'll go into like Jersey Mike's and like it's just a somber atmosphere, and then you and I will like ask them how their day is going, and then like the whole dynamic, they're all joking around, like it changes. And to me, like that feels good. Like that fulfills me, even though I'll never see those people again, most likely, right? Like that is like something that really brings joy to my heart. And I don't know that, you know, I think I'm an extrovert by nature, I think.
You think?
I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I mean, I know that there's my alone time fuels me in ways, but I know that the extroverted thing. I know that being around other people and bringing joy to other people
Yes.
does. I think I lost sight of the question. Maybe that's my ace eight.
Oh yeah, just like how you approach generosity, or random acts of kindness, or like a kind of external. I don't know if they're necessarily goals, but just like we can work on all this internal stuff, but like what is it unto?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thank you. You always bring me back around here. No, I think that in order to help like sustain or reach your individual goals, I think sometimes it's important to step outside of yourself too. I think when you get once you're in that place of getting too hyper focused on what your goal is and what's trying to happen, and especially if it's like it's not progressing the way you've wanted it to, I think it's important to like step outside of yourself, because like if you spend too much time on that self focus, like you're going to lose sight of the other 99.99 forever % of people in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so good. All right, well, thank you. As we wrap up, any last wisdom as we go into 2024 for any of our listeners? Anything you'd like to tell them?
Yes. Move to Florida. I'm joking, but I'm also kind of serious. The cold weather is, I know it's that January time of year where winter's really setting in, and it's harder to get outside, and it's harder to get fresh air, and it's harder to have community, and it's harder to do those things, and then you have to work extra hard at it. But I would say just do that, work extra hard at it, and try to continue. In Florida, like we're playing beach volleyball in December, and it's 65 and we're cold because we've assimilated into the culture. But I say that knowing that obviously, a lot of people watching this probably live up north. But my message there is just make sure you work extra hard to step out of your individual space at home, and connect with others, because I know that whether you're an introvert or extrovert, that will bring you some sort of fulfillment and happiness and joy.
Yeah, that's good wisdom as we step into 2024. And it's kind of the purpose of the podcast too.
Yeah.
Go meet some strangers and get connected. So, bro, thank you for being on the podcast. Love you tons.
Thanks for having me.
It was great having you. Thanks for all your wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love you, bro.
Cheers.